Welcome to Behind the Play, a video and podcast product of the Hoops crew that explores the lives of Geelong players past, present and future. My name is Paul James, and today I have the great pleasure to introduce and chat with two very freshly drafted Geelong Cats players, Chantal Mason and Bryde O'Rourke. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to be great to get to chat to you both, and as I say, very freshly drafted. What's it been? Only a couple of almost a month at this point. What's the timeline now? Yeah,
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah. Has it settled in yet?
Not really. I think until it sort of like starts properly training and like meeting everyone. But at the moment, it's still all pretty surreal and like just still kicking in, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose until I, like move down and settle into Geelong, then it'll be a lot more surreal and yeah.
And so, Bryde, in your case, you were saying, obviously, moving down and those sort of things. What's the timeline look like for that? Does the club kind of say, okay, we need you here by a certain date at all, or I guess what sort of timeline are you working with?
Well, I'm hoping to move down by the end of Feb, like start of March. So hopefully get down by then and settled in and, start to meet new faces and, yeah.
That'd be cool. And Chantal, you're kind of from the area anyway, am I correct?
Yeah, from Geelong.
A little bit easier for you, which is what's allowed you to kind of pop into the club already and some I guess, the perks of being a local, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess for both of you, as we kind of get started, I guess for everyone watching and listening, I want to kind of get behind the scenes on kind of where the love of footy started. Now, Chantal, I might start with you, Bryde. There's, I guess, a little bit of history that attaches you to the Geelong Footy Club in the first place. But Chantal, where did the love of footy first begin for you? Was it from a very early age? Was it kind of always present? Were there key people in your life that really, for want of a better phrase, kind of forced footy upon you, or was it just a very natural thing that you felt attracted to?
Well, I always sort of kicked the footy with Dad and like my other sisters and brother from when I was like 5 or 6 onwards. So I feel like that sort of is where it all started, and then kind of went through Auskick when I was a bit older, and then like went through under 12s, under 15s, and like the whole sort of pathway there. So I think it sort of built as I went on, but I'd say Dad is probably one of the biggest sort of people in my life that not enforced or like forced me, but and like helped me with all of that. So props Dad, and I've sort of been doing it for my whole life, or as long as I can remember.
And even just consuming footy, I mean, I guess who did you support growing up, and were there any players on the men's or women's side that really, I guess you even tried to model yourself off a little bit, or just even looked up to?
I think growing up, I was a Bombers supporter, so
we all make mistakes. It's okay.
Now, but I think Dyson Heppel when I was a bit younger, just his leadership, and then I guess when AFLW came about, someone like Taylor Harris was sort of who I modeled a bit. But I guess as I sort of got into AFLW a bit more, there's like Katie Brennan, and then there's like Kate Hoare type players who I sort of got a bit more interest in as well.
No, that's fantastic players across both sides, the men's and the women's, and as much as I'm absolutely not an Essendon supporter, I have a ton of respect for Dyson Heppel and what he brought to the club too, especially when he had to step up at a very difficult time for the club as well. His leadership's been phenomenal, so totally understand anyone who has the utmost respect for Dyson. I'll admit it, even as a Geelong supporter, I have plenty of respect for him myself. So some fantastic choices. Bryde, how about you? I guess Dad played for the Cats, which probably means that footy is always kind of there or thereabouts, even from a very early stage. But I guess, how did you get introduced to the game? Was it always something that was kind of, I guess, a focus for you and the household, or did it come a little bit later?
Yeah. Well, I started playing footy when I was in grade. I didn't do Auskick or anything like that. I did athletics growing up, so like my weekends were pretty much taken up by athletics and netball, and then I started playing footy with the boys in, I think, grade 2. So I was one girl out of like 98 girls or something at my primary school playing footy. So Mum and Dad never really like forced me into it, but it was just something that I kind of worked out myself, and I got a taste for it, and I loved it. So then, yeah, I just kept going. And then when I was in grade 6, I started playing with the girls in the girls competition, and I liked that a lot better. Just suited me a bit more, and yeah.
I guess for both of you, was there a point where you'd kind of come to the conclusion where, like, this is something I might actually want to chase? And I guess in recent years, we've obviously seen the explosion of the AFLW, and the support of it is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it feels like, with every passing season, which I'm sure helped. But for both of you, when did it feel like, okay, this is something I might really genuinely want to chase?
Yeah, I remember watching the first AFLW game with Mum and Dad, and I was like, oh, like I can actually, if I try, I can actually do that. Like I
You
can
can see
actually
a
be
future
on
in
the
it.
team. Yeah. So, yeah, I suppose like ever since like the first season, I kind of was like, yeah, I want to do that. And then like the last few years playing Talent League, like I've actually seen a pathway, like girls I've played against that have gotten drafted that are older than me, and I'm like, oh, I know that girl. So like it kind of like, you know, shows you that can be done. And like, yeah, that's when I started being like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chantal, what about you?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think, especially over the last year and a little bit, just going through Falcons and kind of seeing all the people I would play against in local, like, take it to the next level. I think that was sort of one of the major, like, aspects of made me realize that it's like possible. But yeah, I guess as Bryde said, like those first few AFLW games, and they used to have like those annual games like a long time ago. I think
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of you could see a future in it, and yeah, that sort of thing.
That makes a lot of sense, and yeah, totally understand what you're saying too. With, you know, kind of, I guess, the ability when you can see other people doing it, it makes it feel a lot more real. Just speaking from my own experiences, and sorry to all viewers and listeners because I do this all the time, but like I'm a teacher professionally, and specifically with year 12s, and we one of our year 12s this year she was playing for the Calder Cannons. You might even potentially know her, Bryde Collings, but we haven't, like, our particular school hasn't necessarily had a lot of people on the male or female side actually make it to the AFL, but seeing, I think for a lot, I was, you know, listening to junior students talking, and they would hear about what Bridie was doing and the level that she was playing at, and you started to hear more little rumblings around the school of students saying, well, you know, I could do that, like, and feeling inspired to go out there and give it a go themselves, maybe something they hadn't necessarily considered before. So it's a fantastic thing that you've had figures like that yourselves around, that you've been able to see, and that I guess for a whole new group of kids coming through over the next few years, you'll both get to be figures like that to people as well. How does that sort of idea, I guess, sit with you going forward, that you're going to have other kids, girls all over the country, presumably looking up to you and what you're going to be hopefully achieving with the Cats?
Yeah, I think it's like unreal that the people who you would kind of, as younger kids, see, you would like idolize them a bit. So I think that's just a bit surreal that I'm in the same sort of situation as that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely very exciting. Like as Chantal said, like I remember being so little and like looking up to all these AFLW players, and like to think that like that younger girls could be doing the same to us is just, yeah, amazing.
Takes a little while to process.
Yeah.
And so I guess one of the things I often talk about when I'm talking to anyone who's been kind of is new to the club, and, you know, fresh draftee of any sort, is I guess kind of talking about that draft year a little bit itself. So obviously there's match day and those sorts of things, and we can kind of talk about some of those experiences as well. But even just managing the day to day can be a real challenge, because there are things like schooling and the like that you're trying to contend with as well. What does that year look like as you're trying to put in the training you need to? You'll be working with your teams and other key figures around you to try and obviously make sure you're right for match day, but continue to build yourself up and prepare yourself and make yourself a viable drafting candidate. What does that look like when you've got to juggle schooling and other responsibilities and those sorts of things as well, for the both of you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely last year was such a big year for, I suppose, everyone. like playing talent league at top age, but it was very stressful. Like I just like this constant like stress. Like you need to play well, like you need to eat well, you need to train well, and like especially with school as well, like trying to put aside time to actually study, and like if I've got a SAT coming up, like maybe a sacrifice if I don't go to training. So there was definitely a lot of stress, but it's all paid off, which is, I suppose, that was the main goal. So yeah.
And you've achieved it. Chantal, similar sort of story?
Yeah, I think like last year was probably obviously the biggest year I've had. But yeah, just trying to maintain that balance between school and footy was a massive thing. And then even during like national champs or like when we travel to Tassie for the Falcons, like just trying to manage my time properly to kind of prepare myself properly for school, but also for footy in the same way. So yeah, very stressful, but got there in the end. So
yeah, it's certainly hard. And obviously you're talking about kind of the compromise and sacrifice you might have to make. Bryde, obviously you mentioned your example there of, okay, I might need to miss out on training or skip this to make sure I'm prepared for SAC. Was, I guess, going the other way was with the schools, and we won't name them, so I don't have to throw anyone under if it's a less than positive answer. But I guess were they really supportive as well, recognizing the needs of what clubs or whatever, and yourselves individually required to achieve this? Were they really good at being able to, I guess, bend and flex? I know there's kind of department guidelines in terms of things you can and can't do, but within that, do you feel like everyone, were they nice and flexible and great to work with as well, and helping you to achieve what you wanted?
Yeah, definitely. I remember like in that period of national champs, like every Friday for like a month, I had to leave at like 12 or 12:30, 11:30, and like they were so good about it. And I remember they were like, a few of my teachers like, send me the link so we can have a look at your game. So they were really supportive and like understanding. I remember I had a SAC on that Friday as well, and I got to do it the following week. So they were very understanding with it all and very supportive and wanting to like get involved as well, which was very nice.
Similar sort of experiences, Chantal?
Yeah, 100%. Especially with missing like school those Fridays, having to like postpone SACs. They were so helpful with that, and very understanding, which was very helpful for me. So yeah, very understanding, and as Bryde said, like they were always involved, asking how it was and watching the games and stuff. So I think all of that really helped.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when that investment's there from everyone around you. It's that old saying of, it takes a village and that sort of thing. It's, on your own, it's a very, very hard thing to do. But when you've got a great team around you, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's your school, communities, whatever, it really makes a big difference. Those playing experiences themselves over the course of the last couple of years through the talent programs and the like, and even just through local football, what have been some of those highs and lows? Were there some opportunities for premiership success and those sorts of things over the years? Did I guess any particular milestones for yourselves individually that really stick out from that time through the junior years?
You go, Shani.
I think with my local club, St. Joseph's, I want to flag with them in 2022. So I think that was sort of the last part where I got to play like a proper season with them. So I think winning a flag was like a really good way just to finish it off before I sort of focused a bit more on Falcons and Coats. So yeah, I think that was pretty smooth. And it was such a good team, very close knit. So I think that was a very special way to end it. And then moving on to Coats, I think just meeting everyone and getting that experience at the high level after stepping up from local was, really good as well, and just preps you well. And I guess the opportunities and the pathway set out for you is so clear. And playing national champs, all of that, all really good.
Couple of highlights of a few big bags along the way, I noticed as I was combing through some of the stats. I think a bag of 7 and 6 as well.
Yeah,
came across my radar. Well, what's it like? I guess when you can pile on that many in a particular game, I guess feel like walking on water at points.
Well, I think the first time when I kicked 7, it was kind of my first proper because like this season was only my first proper coach season. So I think
Yeah.
the first few games I kind of hadn't really hit form, and I was a bit frustrated with myself because like I knew I could play better than what I was playing. So I guess to hit that, I didn't really think I'd kicked like that many. I just knew I'd kicked that game. Like
I just
had a
lost
good
count, right? There was just so many.
and then, but yeah, kind of, it was good. But yeah, just keep playing. It was only early-ish in the season, so still, like, there was a lot more to go. Couldn't just
Yeah, of course.
get
You
too
can't
big.
you can't rest on the laurels. There's plenty more to do. So totally understand and respect that. Bryde, how about you over the course of the year? Any particular highlights? Got your hands on the ball plenty as I see the stats. So any particular moments that really stick out at you though from those junior years or this year specifically, or this past year I should say? It's 2024 now.
In like I played for Strathwood State, my junior local club, but we never really won a flag or anything like that. I suppose just being able to like have them years where you could like be more chill and just like actually play just with your friends from school and stuff like that.
Yep.
But definitely like moving up into Coates League. I remember my first ever pre-season with the Pioneers in, I think it was 2019, being like, oh my God, like this is a level up. And like I was just so shocked. But like I suppose each year like you go, like you're getting older, and like that was like bottom age, like just like reading off the older girls that some of them have been drafted, and like I suppose just getting experience from them really helped me. And like this year, being a vice captain, like I loved helping the younger girls because Pioneers was quite a young team. So like giving them advice and helping them with game plays and everything like that. Like I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I guess to that point for both of you, you get these opportunities to be leaders throughout. What do those leadership responsibilities get to do for you in your respective games as well? Because it can be a tricky balance as well when you're trying to be a leader and be a guide for some of the younger players that are coming through or less experienced players. But you've got your own game to put together. You've got team goals as well that you're working towards. How do you balance those things out, let alone everything else that we've already discussed off field as well?
Yeah, definitely there was a game against Stingrays. I think it was like the record-breaking score, like in Talent League, and that was probably the toughest game I think I've ever played, just because like all the young girls were like so down the dumps, and I was trying so hard to like build them up, and I was like, just play footy, who cares about the score? And that was a really like hard game mentally just to try and get through, and then like I just thought I need to focus on my own game and like try and see what I can do better, and still try and help them younger girls as well. But yeah, that was a very hard, tough game.
Similar sort hopefully no big beatings like what we just described there, but any similar sort of experiences in terms of that leadership capacity and what you're trying to develop there?
Yeah, I think throughout this year there's been certainly a few close games, but I think of like the Tassie game in the finals series. They really like got the start on us. But I think the way that towards the end of the year, I guess our group was really united, and that was kind of one of the things I didn't have an official like leadership position, but I think being like a top age player, just uniting the team in that way was a really good, like, just a good experience. And in that game, we kind of showed that and came back and ended up winning. So I think that was probably one of the games. And even like when against the Jets, it was sort of a similar situation. But I got to step up as captain because Chloe and our two vices were out. So I think that opportunity and experience again was just really good, and good to be a part of with, I guess, a younger team because there weren't too many top ages this year.
Yeah, it makes sense. And obviously there's so much you can learn from those most challenging situations, and you've both faced them in different degrees and had to step up. It's fantastic. Casting an eye forward, I guess, to the lead up to the draft itself and then ultimately joining the Cats. Two very different sorts of stories. Obviously, Bryde, you got the father-daughter component to yours. But I guess for both of you, what did it look like with some of those conversations with Cats and presumably even other clubs as well, leading up to the draft? And I guess how were you feeling coming into that couple of days before it all kicked off?
I think obviously you have like conversations with different clubs throughout the year, but it was actually kind of funny because Reza, who's one of the managers at Falcons, because I was doing preseason with Falcons for this year just before the draft to sort of keep fit and get my hands on the footy. She like pulled me aside and she was like, "Oh, like Ben from the Cats like wants to have a chat with you." And this was like literally, I think 5 days before the draft, and she was like, "Yeah, like he's been reaching out, but he's got the wrong number.
Oh,
So I've given him like your number, and you should get a text tonight, and he'll catch up for a coffee tomorrow." So literally, like my first interaction was 4 days before the draft, and I guess the whole season I never really thought like Geelong would be the club that like would pick me or I would have a chance with. But yeah, so that was kind of crazy to hear my name called out by them. But yeah, over the moon with it.
I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Obviously, as an Essendon supporter growing up, did you hear much from them? Was there a little low key hope that maybe something would work out?
Yeah, I think the young version of myself was a bit cut that didn't hear any Essendon, but I think, yeah, happy with where I am now at the Cattery. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's some realities of the business and what sorts of players fit the needs of a club at any given time. And unfortunately, those kind of childhood loves sometimes have to get checked at the door. And now the Cats are your team. We're thrilled to have you.
I'd say
Bryde,
Cats would be my second team.
Like, that's all right then.
Can't complain too much with that.
That's all right. No, it's we're not trying to make some crazy sort of pitch then to 100% win you over. This is nice. I like it. Bryde, how about you? Obviously, with the father-daughter component in there, what does that look like when I guess the nature of the beast is very different in terms of I guess what qualifies or creates a qualification for a father-daughter selection as things currently stand. So, I guess what did that window look like? Conversations with the club, potentially other clubs as well. Yeah, I guess how did that all play out for you?
Yeah, I remember a few years ago now, Dad was like, "Can you ask if you qualify?" Like this was 2 years before my draft year. Anyways, I asked and I got knocked back, and I said no because that was like he played VFL, but back then that was the only that was qualified as AFL. So then I got told like no, it was VFL. So I just kind of forgot about it. Like I never thought about it at all. And then one of the clubs actually said, no, you qualify. So then pretty sure the AFL got notified, and then I got a call from Ben, and he's like, oh, your dad, like Ray played, and I was like, yeah, and then I had a meeting, and then it become aware that I was eligible for father-daughter, so Dad was very happy, as Mum,
understandably,
like my whole family, yeah. And because I've gone for Geelong my whole life, it's just like amazing that I can actually, the team that I go for and support for my whole life has picked me up, and yeah, very exciting.
I guess beyond, I guess also when it comes to the lead into draft night, there's obviously lots of different variables and things that can happen, but I'm sure that also gives you a hint of security and a hint of confidence that whatever happens tonight, I've probably got a home at the end of this.
Yeah, definitely. I remember thinking it was there was two clubs that I thought maybe, and Melbourne actually bidded on me as well. So, Geelong and Melbourne were the two clubs. So, yes, I'm very happy with where I am now, and yeah, it's I suppose I was very, very nervous day of draft, because I didn't really know where I was going to go. Like as anyone in the draft pool doesn't know where you're going to go. So there's always going to be, them nerves in the back. So yeah.
Yeah, completely understood. I guess it's one of those interesting ones. Were there any even just low level assurances like, okay, like if this happened, did they kind of try and explain it all? I've heard stories about different father-daughter, father-son sort of scenarios that have played out in the past where, you know, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then don't worry, we'll still do. Like, was there any of that sort of conversation at all that was provided to you that, again, maybe provided that little bit of extra confidence, I suppose?
I suppose yes and no. Like, I didn't really know. Like, Geelong did say to me, like, you are, you know, like, how do I say it? Like, they're obviously very interested, but like they didn't really give away that many clues, I suppose. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
Clearly behind the scenes, though, they must have been fairly short considering the visitors that you had that evening. I saw on the social media clips that have come out. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, again, it's a massive congratulations to the both of you for being picked up, and I'm sure you'll be fantastic for the Cats over the next little while. So I guess casting an eye forward to season 2024 and eventually moving down and kind of getting settled in. What are for both of you, some of your hopes for this year in terms of what you want to achieve? And, well, yeah, I guess probably as a starting point, yeah, is there anything in particular that you're really wanting to work towards as kind of, I guess, goal number one?
I think firstly, just kind of getting to know everyone and meeting the whole team and kind of immersing myself in that is probably what's right in front of me right now. But I think in the future, just kind of taking advantage of every opportunity I can get. So hopefully come like round one, I put myself in the best position to hopefully get a game more close to that top side. So probably that.
Makes a lot of sense. Bryde?
Yeah, I'm definitely the same. Probably just, you know, like really working hard in this preseason to put myself in the best position to get picked. Like, I suppose, you know, like creating great relationships with girls that I've never, you know, thought that I'd be teammates with. So I don't know, just suppose, yeah, creating relationships and putting my best foot forward.
No, that's awesome, and it's obviously a really important first pillar. But you're both obviously coming into a club at a very exciting time, considering the what nearly was when it came to the women's team in the prelim this year. I won't inject my opinions into that because I'll put people in compromised spots, and I don't like doing that. But yeah, obviously the prelim didn't quite work out. But this is a team that is seemingly right on the brink of some amazing success. So you've come in at a wonderful time. And I mean, I guess wouldn't it be nice to walk in and suddenly be a part of a team that's having a serious crack at a premiership in, I guess, 9 to 10 months from now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's very exciting.
like their game against Brisbane, how close that was, and then Brisbane going on to be the premiers. I think, yeah, like a very exciting future ahead.
Yeah, it seems like all the key pillars are there to be really successful. Is there anyone in particular? And I feel like this is then going to be harsh to some people that don't get mentioned here, but there's no offense. Absolutely, we promise. Is there anyone that I guess you're really keen to kind of meet, learn from at all?
I suppose, like being a midfielder, probably Georgie Prasparkas or Nina Morrison. Like, Nina Morrison's been like one of my favourite players since she started playing. So being able to work with her, and I remember playing against Georgie. She probably would not remember me. In like the Vic Country, Vic Metro game ages ago, and just being like, oh my god, like the girl with the long sleeves. Like, she was just like, it's Georgie Prasparkas. So like to be able to be her teammate is just mind blowing to me.
Look, she probably didn't have time to remember too many names. She was too busy getting the ball 30 or 40 times a game to be able to stop and introduce herself. So I completely understand. And yeah, I mean, both Georgie and Nina, they're absolute guns. How about you, Chantal?
I think playing that like key forward role. I think someone like Jackie Parry.
Yep.
Just I think her season this year, especially or last year, was a standout. So someone like her who kind of works up and down the ground and like can transition back is kind of something I want to base my game off. So certainly her, I think there's a lot to learn from. But even like just around the club, you hear like Nina Morrison, just she's always there. I think her like dedication and work rate on and off the field is like admirable. So certainly her as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's all of those leadership qualities and those sort of things. Someone doesn't have to be in the same position on the field as you to be an incredible inspiration and leader as well. So, it's some amazing people you've chosen, and I'm sure they'll take you under their wing and be fantastic for the both of you. So, as we start to wind things down a little bit, just a few, I guess, top level sort of questions. It'll be a fascinating, I guess, shift in perspective here. Is Bryde is someone who's kind of supported the Cats all their life, and Chantal, your second team, so pretty close. In your eyes, across the men's and the women's, or both, I guess who's the greatest Cat of all time, in your opinion?
I reckon, in my opinion, probably Joel Selwood, just because he's a Bendigo boy. And
There's that natural bias.
And like he's just, like his family, such great people as well. And like, probably Joel Selwood. I remember meeting him when I was like 3 or 4 and being so shy, just like say anything. So yeah, he's definitely probably the greatest in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go past him. I guess he's like a pillar of like the Cats and football community, and in like all of their history. So yeah, I think Joel as well.
Yeah, fantastic choice. I think he's obviously incredibly emblematic of what the club has been, wants to continue to be. So, an awesome call there. And Chantal, I'll give you the opportunity as well. Just I guess on the Bombers side, as we kind of discuss as well. Anyone I guess who's really been that club legend for you that you've always potentially idolized a little bit?
I think when I like idolized them when I was a lot younger, and then there was that whole scandal, I guess.
Oh well, yeah.
A bit of a different light, but even like, I don't know, you've got like Tim Watson, I guess he's kind of a massive part of it, and then Job as well was captain. Yeah, I don't know, probably those, but I guess.
Yeah, there's obviously been a tricky period in the last decade, which kind of makes things a little bit harder, regardless of, I guess, what people's opinions are on the whole thing. It can kind of complicate things just a tad. Looking across the league more broadly, for both of you, I guess who's the player that you do look at, whether they're at the Cats or been across the board, maybe you've tried to even model your game on a little bit. Who has been kind of your favorite player to watch over the last few years?
Probably Alyssa Bannon from Melbourne. I just feel like we play a similar sort of a game. Just like her speed and the way she like runs and carries with the ball. Yeah. So this season especially, I've definitely looked closely at Alyssa. So yeah.
I think Kate Hall from the D's as well. I think kind of her versatility to be able to take marks, but also and like go back and have a set shot, but also kind of play a more mobile role and like kicking on the run and snap, those sort of things. I kind of take that part from her game, but even you've got like your key position players like Taylor Harris, Katie Brennan, even like Jackie Parry does it as well. So probably there's a few.
Lots of incredible inspirations out there. So hopefully you're both able to draw the best qualities from them, as well as add your own little personal flair to the whole thing and be incredibly successful for the Cats over many years to come. So I guess a lighter one before we wrap up. It's a schoolyard pick. You're building a team, and you've got, and sorry, I do this to, I guess, every Geelong interview here because we've got that little bit of bias. You got Gary Ablett Jr. and Gary Ablett Sr. standing in front of you, and you're trying to build a team. Who's the first one you're going to pick?
Senior, probably.
I guess just purely curiosity. Why is that? I'm not saying you're wrong, because I feel like over the couple of years I've been doing this show, I feel like it's a 50-50 split from what people said. So
I remember I used to watch like some of his highlight reels, and I think after that, just like I guess his tenacity and just like attack at the ball is like admirable. But I guess he's kind of a bigger player and plays as like a taller role. I guess Junior is probably a bit smaller, but I guess for me, probably him. Yeah.
Bryde, similar sort of reason, something else?
Yeah, as well. Like Dad always says, like he's like one of the just one of the toughest. Like such a good player. And he's got this Dad in our garage. He's got this like big picture frame, and it's got like all these photos of Gary Ablett Senior, and it's like 1,000 goal master. And I remember looking at it when I was little, like, oh my god, 1,000 goals!
1,000 goals.
Like, I thought that was amazing. Well, I mean, it is. So yeah, probably just just his ability, I suppose.
No, I think regardless of which way someone goes with that question, you're not making a bad choice. It's one of those really hard ones to work through, but totally totally fantastic justifications for picking Senior there. I guess I just want to say as we wrap things up, thank you to the both of you so much for coming aboard the show and sharing a little bit of insight into this journey so far. On behalf of, I guess, myself, Ben, and the Hoops Crew team, as well as all the Cats fans watching and listening today, we wish you both nothing but the absolute best over the course of this year and the many years beyond in the system. We're thrilled to have you aboard, and I hope it all goes incredibly well. If people watching and listening today want to, I guess, see a little bit of what you're up to, social medias, those sorts of things, where can people go?
I'm on Instagram. My username's just Bryde O'Rourke. So yeah.
Yeah, Instagram as well. Chantal.Mason.
Fantastic. And obviously all the club's official stuff as well, which you'll all get very versed in, I'm sure, over the months and years to come. As I said, thank you both so much for coming on the show and sharing firstly your time with me and the listeners, but also a little bit of that journey so far. Like I said, I wish you both nothing but the best for the season to come. Hopefully the debuts are nice and soon, and you'll be just tearing it up for the Cats imminently.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Oops. No, not a problem at all. Cats listeners, please, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Hoops Crew on YouTube. Follow Behind the Play on podcast services where you can access every single episode that we've had so far, with many more to come over season 2024 across the men's and the women's seasons. It's going to be an awesome time. So check out all of that stuff. But otherwise, remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you next time.